tonight is the last regularly scheduled select board meeting for Matt Borrelli. And so, speaking as somebody who joined the board after Matt, this is the end of an era, as I'm feeling like the last man standing here. And we sort of want to recognize and celebrate that a little here. We are going to celebrate later at an event on another night. But, you know, Matt, I have followed you on the board the whole time. We've been chair, vice chair together, where you've been the chair and I've been the vice chair twice, and gotten to learn from you. I have been forever grateful for the perspective that you bring to make all of us think fully about a whole bunch of issues and different angles. And I would want to note, particularly, I think, in Foster, really grateful to have you there. Your perspective as a developer and the legal background that you brought have been invaluable on that one. And from the bottom of my heart, I'm grateful. We have some special guests who have joined us, and then I don't know if the board wants to speak or we want special guests. All right. Denise, Representative Garlick, do you want to be first, and then I can turn to our moderator? Would you like to come make any? We have special guests here tonight. Representative Garlick's here, our moderator's here, the chief is here.
Allison Borrelli is here.
Allison Borrelli is here. We have Anthony and Virginia here, and Matt's friend Kathy Dermody is here too. So friends in the audience. So we're going to take a moment and say thank you in case you need them.
That should be for me, Kevin. That should be for me.
So I'm very pleased to be here, and good evening to all members of the Select Board and to our town moderator and everyone who's gathered here, and what I hope will be many, many more gathering at the event to be named later. So I want to thank you as the chair of the board inviting me to have this opportunity to say a few words about Matt. And I wanted to talk about Matt in three ways: as my friend, as a colleague, and as a member of the Select Board. So the first thing I'd like to talk about is in 2007, 2008, Matt and I were both running for a seat on the Select Board. And we have watched in our community, in our state, and in our nation over this time since 2008 for elections to become very acrimonious. The election in which we both ran was the foundation of a firm, wonderful friendship between Matt and I and between our families. And I will never forget that opportunity. And I remember then when Matt ran for the Select Board again, that I voted for him, and I knew it was in Needham's best interest that he be elected. The second way I'd like to talk to him is about a colleague. So the way that Matt and I have been able to work together, I think, has been extraordinary. Certainly his passion and his commitment to issues that I care deeply about, when we were building the Needham Senior Center, the Center at the Heights, when I continually talk about the Needham Housing Authority, he is always there. He is always supportive. He is always willing to add his work and his wisdom to any of these issues and concerns that rattle around in my brain, and we discuss at frescoes, of course, over breakfast. And I would like to talk about Matt as a member of the Select Board and this 11 years that he has served. And first, Matt, thank you. Thank you as a member of this community for your public service, for the hundreds and hundreds, and indeed, Matt, I think thousands of hours that you have devoted to the work of our town while you were raising a young family, while you had a beautiful wife, and the hours that you gave to our community, to our town. Just tremendous public service. But also as a colleague, Matt, you have at times represented a constituency that had a minority view. And you have done that with great courage, with great honesty, with really projecting a voice that might not have otherwise been heard in this town. I think you dealt with a major issue in this town on live television, growing and changing with great candor, trying to deal with an issue that every single person in this town could be wrestling with and should be wrestling with. And I think that there has never been a time, not once, man, that whether I agreed with your decision or not, that I have ever doubted your motivation. I think your motivation has been so sincere and so genuine, and you have always done what you think is best for this hometown of yours that you love, and we are a better town because of your service, man. So in friendship, in love, in respect, I want to say thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Denise.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Moderator.
Now, who's going to talk about it? That's fine, thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the Select Board, pleasure to see you all.
See you.
Mr. Borrelli, member of the Select Board, Representative Garlick, and distinguished guests. Thank you for extending the invitation through our town manager to attend here and say a few words about Matt Borrelli. So I know that there'll probably be a lot of talk about Matt's tenure on the board of tenure on the Select Board, which wasn't the Select Board when he first joined. I want to add that for historical accuracy. But I think it's important to remember that Matt was on the Finance Committee, and he chaired the Finance Committee. And he graciously accepted an appointment from the moderator to the Finance Committee and acquitted himself with great distinction in that role. He was a dogged worker. He was a consensus builder. And those attributes, those talents, which I'm going to try to take just a little bit of credit for in terms of spotting them and serving as the talent scout for the Select Board, those carried through to his terms on the Select Board. And Matt brings a passion for this town. It's in his blood, his distinguished history of his family, which is something to be so proud of. And I'm sure your ancestors are proud of you, the way you contributed to this town. And I always was amazed, Matt, that no matter what the issue, whether you were on the Finance Committee or the Select Board, and I know certainly numerous other roles that you played, you always had, I believe, an abiding respect for the participants in this process. You had an abiding respect for our institution of town meeting and the town meeting members that make up our town meeting and represent our citizens. And that came across in the way you addressed people, the way you spoke, whether it was in private meetings or whether it was in a large form of town meeting. And I think that's crucially important and something that we have to recognize, we have to encourage. I am very pleased that you were able to move on from the Finance Committee. I mean, it's odd. I don't know why you'd want to do such a thing to run for the Select Board. But watching your tenure as a member of the Select Board, it was a pleasure. As I said, you acquitted yourself with great dignity. You were a dogged worker. You were an excellent presenter. And you clearly love this town. I quoted before, it's one of my favorite quotes, Winston Churchill said, you make a living by what you get, you make a life by what you give. And you've given a lot to this town, and I am probably safe to say it's not over, that you'll continue to give in so many different ways. But in closing, I wanted to just single out how special you and all others who stepped forward are in terms of sharing your precious time with the town. There was yesterday, I couldn't help but notice yesterday in the Wall Street Journal, there was a poll published by the Journal and the University of Chicago. And it was about Americans and where they rate what have been traditional values in our country. And it was a comparison of data that was collected between two comparison points, 1998, three actually, 1998, 2019, and today. And I don't know if you can see this little graph, but there's a graph entitled Community Involvement. And it drops like the stock price of Silicon Valley Bank. In 1998, Americans were polled and asked how important community involvement was to you, and 43% said it was very important. In 2019, that rose to 60%. And this year, it's almost 20%. So the reasons for that, who knows? I'm sure it's quite complicated. But the fact remains that there are only, I think, a few people, and I hope there will be more, who step forward and become involved in their community. And you are one of them, in more ways probably that can be counted. And when I look at that poll data and it coincides with this event, I just say to myself, we need more Matt Borrellis. So thank you very much for everything you've done.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Now I'd like to ask the chief who's here tonight. And you know what? I know the chief is saying, ooh, Representative Garlick, the moderator.
We can only go down from there, right?
We have such expectations.
And I'll
John.
definitely
Be
need the
ready.
tissue, so. But Matt, first of all, congratulations on such an incredible tenure with the town, and congratulations to Allison and your family, because I don't think people outside of this board here understand how much time and commitment this is and what it takes away from your family. And it's a team effort, and you all should be congratulated for all the work that you've done. Being involved in the community, I know one of the first times I got to work with you was on the 911 memorial at the station, and ever since then, it's you and Allison. I always see you at community events, projects, and it's people like you that make this town such an incredible place to live and to work, and you should be very proud of your accomplishments. And I think from, a standpoint from policing and working in the town, it doesn't not go mentioned by a lot of how you reach out when you're at events. You speak to the workers, not the management part, but the rank and file, and how much that means, especially, from the police department. It's been a difficult time for us, for sure, over the last several years. But you've never hesitated to call when you had questions, but you never hesitated to stand behind our department and our officers, and you were always checking in with us and them. And that means the world to me and to our department. And so I bring a thanks from our department because, we're grateful for what you've done for us in this town, because it is a better place because of all you've done. So congratulations to you and your family. It's a well-deserved break, I guess, for a little bit, but congratulations.
Steve, thank you. Thank you very much.
Kate, do you want to talk? Shall I? Board members, what would you like?
I'm reserving my time, Madam
You're
Chair, for the
reserving.
party that we're going to be having, and people will be, that's mine.
Do I have anybody on the board who wishes to comment? Otherwise, we do have another opportunity, but yes. Chair? Yes. He has some notes. Heidi, yes, please.
Okay. I just wanted to say, Matt and I have a lot of similarities. This might surprise some people. We're both, well, I am a Jewish woman. He is married to a Jewish woman. My husband is an Italian Catholic, just like Matt. We met in high school, our sweethearts, right? We have kids just about the same age. And it's always very entertaining to me that even though we have so many similarities, we usually end up at different positions, sort of like opposite ends of the table. But one of the things that's been really precious to me during my first year, and even prior to that year, is how generous Matt has always been, sort of sharing his thoughts and allowing me to ask questions and giving guidance and not being judgmental at all when we disagreed. Probably less than I have been. He's always just super generous with his time, and it's really just so appreciated. It's sort of a model for how people, but also governments, should work. And it sets a phenomenal example. So I want to say thank you. I am also very, very concerned about who's going to make all of our motions moving forward. So guys, we're going to have to get together and have some discussions about that, okay? But thank you, Matt. I appreciate everything.
Thank you.
You know, Matt is great to work with, and it's amazing. Sometimes we do not always see eye to eye, but you don't see it on cable. But after we may talk or have an exchange, I can catch his eye and we can smile. And it's actually very, like, disagreements should be so wonderful. And if, like Heidi said, it should be, this is how it should work. So you've been great to work with, and you've been helpful, and you've been kind with your time. And you are the bear of the board. I mean, when we need a voice to speak up for the select board, Matt, it's your turn. And you also get the distinction of the best lines. And for that, I am forever envious. And a little trivia, he has a great singing voice. So I wish you all the luck.
Tell that to my wife. Thank you. And my kids. I appreciate
For Rudolph.
that. Right, it's for Rudolph, yeah.
They're really good
For
at the
simple
tree
melody.
lighting. So I wish you every.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Mr. Borrelli, I think our time kind of goes back to some of my amazing memories from, you know, when you started the Flag Football League. And the meetings that I started off with you and Dave DeChico coming to your office and kind of just brainstorming, you know, what this was going to look like, how the YMCA can be involved, and the candor and the conversations that we had with Dave, you know, rest his soul. He would just kind of lit up the room with his advice, his wisdom and everything, and kind of watching you two work with each other to kind of create this now, you know, how many years later is it now?
Yeah,
Since you
5
started?
years.
5 years later from when it started. You know, I got a chance to be in the very beginning to help out with the kindergarten and first grade flag football with the YMCA, and that was something else. I'm just so happy I was able to do that. And then flash forward a couple years, and the conversation that we had after the July Select Board meeting when we met right there in the town common, and we sat and we just talked about, you know, getting involved and what I can do and things like that. And that conversation kind of changed the course of my life. And to end up where I am now would not have happened without you taking the time to meet with me, to talk through some of the questions I had, some of the things that were on my mind about this town and where we can be better. And, you know, suggesting Human Rights Committee and New RE. And being a part of those probably wouldn't have happened without that conversation and what led me here. And I'm truly forever grateful for that. And kind of like Kevin said, you know, being the voice, a very strong voice when needed, and to hold the tune somewhat during the lighting of the tree. I'll say somewhat. And
Your voice is much better, Marcus.
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
But yeah, always showing up, you know, ready, you know, with an opinion, with a voice, very thought out, very thorough. And you know, your guidance and questions that I've ever had since being on this board and preparing to get on this board, you've never hesitated to answer them. And for that, I'm grateful and wish you the best. But I know you're probably not going too far since you don't live that far from this place right here. But wishing you all the best to you and your family, to Allison and to your children. And just grateful for the opportunity that you helped give me by that conversation in the common that day.
Oh, that's nice.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marcus. Yeah.
So do you want to say?
I'll say a few things. Thank you. That was really nice, Marcus. You know, I thought about that conversation too as you were speaking, and kicked off a lot of things. So I really appreciate that. And I want to thank Representative Garlick for your amazing words, and share so many things with you, and just resonated so deeply. And of course, Michael Fee, I did have in my notes how you've been a mentor, and you really did start me off and had the faith in me to to promote or to appoint me to the Finance Committee, which is really an honor to be on that committee and something that a lot of people look to do, and very few get that chance. So it was the trust you had in me really led to a lot of things, and led to me being here. And I see Mo, my former colleague, Mo Handel here, and also a great mentor as I was moving through the board along and working with Mary Ann, just like you said, working hand in hand. And Heidi, thank you for those words. We do cordially sometimes agree to disagree, but that is how things should be, and Kevin the same way. And of course, Kate, and maybe I'll save my remarks for the party too, but you've been instrumental in my time here and my growth and my understanding of government. Dave Davison, same thing as the finance director. Learned so much both on the finance committee and my time here. So it's been terrific. I want to thank my family. That was supposed to be my first thank you, but I did have to get everything else. My thoughts to you. Of course, Allison, that was a surprise seeing you live from Las Vegas. Stays in Vegas, so hope have a blast. Thank you for joining me here and my children, Virginia and Anthony. When I started the finance committee, 3 and 4 years old, so that's how young you were, and look at you now. So mentioned, Chief, thank you for your terrific words. Always been a supporter of public safety, and I've always wanted to try to show my support for management and staff who really make up this town. And as you mentioned, you grew up in Needham, I did as well, and I thank my father who grew up here in the 30s and really instilled in me the love of the town, and it was his hometown as a son of an immigrant, and then of course trying to pass on that legacy, and as was discussed, just really trying to do what was for the best interest of the town either way. So as Michael Feast said, he likes to have quotes. I like to do analogies. Usually I butcher them, but I'm going to try. I did read, this is some time back, that boards and committees are like trains, because the train starts at a certain point. So in Needham, it would have been 1711, and they just always move forward. And we're passengers on that train, and I've been blessed and honored. If you look at the book that we get when we sign on, of all those people that came before all of us on that train, and really got it to where it is here. And then, of course, riding the train with all of you to make this town move in the right direction. And as I step off, guess what? That train keeps going. And but it is always moving forward, and it's really going to make the towns move forward, and we're better for it, and we're going to be in a better place in the future as we are now. So I just want to thank all of you. I'm blessed to have this position, and it's just been a wonderful ride, and as was said earlier, I'm not going too far. So thank you very much for taking the time to come.